Hello everyone, and welcome to week 3. This week we are going to look at Unit 4, Great Ideas. Before we begin the textbook lecture, I'd like to remind all of my students that starting this week, all of our lecture videos, assignments, and quizzes must be completed within 3 hours. In other words, all of our class material must be finished within our scheduled offline class hours. So, be prepared to watch this lecture and then, right away, start working on your participation assignments and complete your attendance quiz. Okay, let's look at the next slide. I know that many students have trouble buying a copy of the textbook because they're not in Korea or maybe they're not in Wonju right now. Unfortunately, because of copyright issues, I'm not allowed to upload a copy of the textbook for you, nor am I allowed to upload any MP3s or media files that are from this textbook. On YSEC, I have linked the audio to a YouTube video, which you can find yourself pretty easily just by searching the title of this textbook. I did not upload these audio files, but I thought they would be a very useful resource for you to use. If you do have a copy of this textbook, I strongly encourage you to help your fellow classmates by sharing a photo of your textbook or doing your work together with them. Please pool your resources. I really wish that I could help you more than that, but unfortunately, my hands are tied. If you look on YSEC, I've added a new feature for this week, which is the class chat room. You'll see an icon like this on the YSEC page. Click on it, and it will open up a live chat room. I want you all to log into YSEC right now and open the chat room. Say hello to everybody, and just get used to using it. We're going to use it for this lecture for some open discussion and chat with our classmates. And hopefully, by using this chat room, we'll be able to get to know each other really well for the first time. Okay, so our first chat today, before we look at our textbook, is about Starbucks. Take a look at this photo. On one side we have Starbucks coffee, and on the other side there's Buck Star. I have a question for you, and I'd like you to discuss this with the other students in the chat room. Read this statement and then tell me if you agree or disagree. There is nothing wrong with copying and improving the ideas of others, especially in business. Please go into the chat room and write a sentence, I agree or disagree because, and then give an example. If you see an opinion from another student that you disagree with, I encourage you to engage in a conversation with them and try to learn a little more detail. I'm going to put a timer on for 3 minutes. When the timer finishes, you'll hear this sound. When you hear that sound, please come back to the YouTube video, and then we can move on with our lecture. Okay, let's start our 3-minute timer right now. Oh, now. Okay, please conclude your conversation in the chat room and come back to the lecture video. It's time to move on to our next activity. Before we look in the textbook, I want to ask you a few questions about great ideas in history. How many amazing inventions do you know about? There are 5 simple multiple choice questions, so please take out your notebook and let's begin. Number 1. What sweet food did the ancient Egyptians invent? A. Marshmallows, B. Chocolate, C. Ice cream, or D. Caramel, or as some people pronounce it in America, caramel. Well, the answer is marshmallows. Yes, this sticky, gooey candy was invented by the Egyptians. Next, where was the first calculator or abacus invented? A. Japan, B. India, C. Persia, or D. China? I'm sure many of you already know this answer. It was invented in China. And now we use calculators every day. They are a key part of our modern industry. Next, when did the idea of a mobile phone begin? Not the first prototype, but the concept of a smartphone or mobile phone. A. 1917, B. 1977, C. 1987, or D. 1997? The answer may surprise you. It actually began in 1917. The first concept of being able to communicate with another person in a handheld device. Of course, the technology was really far away, but people dreamed really big. Next, here's a little tidbit. Eric Tegerstedt filed a patent for a pocket-sized folding phone. But of course, he wouldn't realize this dream, and next, when was the first refrigerator invented? Everyone has one of these in their home, but do you know when they were created? Was it A, 1917, B, 1927, C, 1957, or D, 1967? The first refrigerator was invented in 1927, but back then they didn't have the same type of cooling system. Often people would buy a big block of ice and put it into this small box to keep their food cold. And since refrigerators have been invented, it really changed our modern diet and the way that we conserve food or ship food internationally. Next question. How did this shop owner increase his sales? A, low prices. Maybe he invented the sale. B, 1+1. C, he invented the shopping bag. Or D, all of the above? The answer is he invented the shopping bag. With the shopping bag, shoppers were encouraged to purchase more items, and it made shopping more convenient. Okay, now let's look in our textbook. If you look on page 36, we have some discussion questions to get us started with the topic of today's lesson, which is great ideas. Or in other words, innovations or great inventions that became business successes. Let's discuss these questions together in our chat group. Number 1, what are some of the best ideas in the last 20 years? Is it the smartphone, Bluetooth earphones, the selfie stick, or something else? You can use a sentence like this. I think the best ideas were and Please go to our class chat room and discuss this topic with your classmates. The 3-minute timer will begin now. Okay, great. Please conclude your conversation and return to the lecture video. All right, hopefully you got some good discussion in about what are the best inventions of the last 20 years. And as I'm sure you know, technology has advanced so much and has really changed our lifestyle and quality of life. So, how can we use these innovative ideas to make business success? How can we make sure that we don't get our ideas copied and that we really are able to achieve the greatest potential from these ideas? That is the topic of our lesson today. Now, I'd like you to think in your notebook. Take the information that you learned from your classmates in your discussion and reflect on your own opinion. What is the best idea you have ever had? And you can use a sentence like this. The best ideas I ever had were this and this. Maybe you had a fantastic idea for a new invention and then you found out that someone else made it and it made you feel really upset, like you missed your big chance. So please take a moment in your notebook to write your answer. If you're not sure what to write, you can take a look at these sample ideas. Maybe the best idea you ever had was studying at Yonsei. Maybe it was trying something new, like a new sport. Maybe it was saving money. Or maybe it was something else. When you come back, we're going to look at the next question that you will reflect on in your notebook. The next question I would like you to consider is this. Which creative person do you admire the most? People seem to believe that creativity is limited only to the arts, but that's not true. Any sort of good idea, which can be in business, it can be in, of course, the arts, it can be in organization, it can be in marketing, they are all different types of creativity. So who is your creative role model? You can write a sentence like this. A creative person I admire is, and it can be a celebrity, a teacher, a parent, a friend, anyone in your life that you think is a creative thinker. If you can't think of an idea, please take a look at these samples. Lady Gaga, Steve Jobs, Chris Tung, the CMO of Alibaba, or maybe someone else. All right, take a moment to write your answer. Let's start with our vocabulary today. If you look on page 36, you'll see 6 different examples of word partnerships. If you don't have the textbook, I've put the same word partnerships here on the PowerPoint, so you can do the exercise directly from the PowerPoint. So on the left, we have our word partnerships. Please listen and repeat after me. To take advantage of an opportunity. To raise somebody's status. To enter a market. To extend a product range. To meet a need. And to make a breakthrough. Please take a moment to match each word partnership with the definition that you think it should have. When you come back, we'll check your answers. Great, let's check your answers now. Number 1, to take advantage of an opportunity means to do something when you get the chance to do it. This is really important when you have a brand new idea. We need to act quickly before anyone else can have the same idea. Also, sometimes we have an idea that's just waiting for the right time to be put into action. And then suddenly, something opens up. We need to take that chance quickly and decisively. We must take advantage of the opportunity. Number 2, to raise someone's status is to make someone look or feel more important. These can be things like a job promotion. Maybe the title has changed, the salary has increased, Or maybe they are given other perks and benefits like a company car or a company credit card. These are things that can make someone feel very important. And it's important to raise your customers' sense of status as well so that they feel comfortable and satisfied with you. Number three, to enter a market means that you are starting to sell goods in a new area that you didn't do before. Number four, to extend a product range means to offer a larger variety of goods, new products, new types of services. Number five, to meet a need, to do or provide something that is necessary. Usually, a new invention meets the needs of the customers. So, for example, when the telephone was invented, people wanted to communicate across big distances, but they didn't have the means to do it. Then, the telephone could meet that need. And finally, number six, to make a breakthrough is to make an important discovery or change, an innovation. Okay, let's move on to our next activity. Read this extract from a talk by the head of an R&D department. R&D stands for Research and Development. Then, complete the gaps with the word partnerships from the first exercise. I have put the entire extract here, so if you do not have a textbook, you can take a look at this PowerPoint slide. Go ahead, and when you finish, we will check the answers. Let's check your answers now. Number one, take advantage of an opportunity to extend its product range. Number two, a great idea could allow a company to enter a market which was closed. Number three, companies which are prepared to spend a lot on research and development may make a breakthrough. Number four, these products are made to meet a need, to satisfy consumer demand. And finally, the product raises their status. Some people will buy new products because the products, raise their status. Okay, great. Hopefully you got all of your vocabulary questions correct. If you didn't, put a note next to it to study a little more. In this extract, they talked about this invention, the Sony Walkman, and it was an innovative idea that was copied and evolved upon over the years by many different companies. So, I want you to think about our discussion question at the beginning of the lecture. Is it okay to copy an idea? And why? And what are the advantages of doing such a thing? Let's move on to the listening part of today's lecture. I have uploaded a YouTube link to YSEC containing all of the audio. However, some students have asked me how to access just one track at a time. I have put the individual links on YSEC, but I understand that YSEC can be a little bit slow and maybe it doesn't work so well. What you can do is instead open the link directly through YouTube using your internet browser. If you go on YouTube and search for the textbook title, Pre-Intermediate Market Leader, you will find this video. The video is over 2 hours long. That's because it contains the audio from both CDs entirely. To choose an individual track, please look at the YouTube description, and you will see each track listed with a clickable link. This clickable link also tells you the time where you can scroll through the video. For our listening part today, we're going to listen to CD1, track 1.39. In this audio file, we're going to hear the words of Dr. Kate Pitts, who is a researcher at the E-Research Center at the University of Oxford. When you listen to this audio track, please listen to the details and then answer this comprehension question. What does she think were the best business ideas of the last 15 years, and why? When you come back, we'll check your answers. Let's check our answers. Kate Pitts believes that there are three amazing business ideas from the last 15 years. The first is eBay. The reason why she believes eBay is such a good idea is because it provides individuals and small businesses with a channel to market that didn't exist before. It opened up this huge market for regular people that didn't exist in the past. The second invention that she really prioritized was a USB stick because it could easily transport data and was very portable. Finally, she talked about the digital camera. It revolutionized photography and it's incorporated into many other products such as mobile phones and PCs. And I think she was right. All right, let's move on. We have another listening track, 1.40. Please listen to the second listening track and then answer these two questions. When you come back, we'll check your answers. Let's check your answers now. Number 1. What types of companies spend a lot of time and money on R&D? She mentioned pharmaceuticals and high-tech companies. She also mentioned an example by name, which was Ericsson, a mobile telecoms company. Number 2. Which company spends nearly 25% of the cost of sale on research and development? Ericsson, the company that I just mentioned, a Finnish mobile phone company. Next, we have another set of listening questions for the same track, 1.40. So please listen to that track again and then complete the gaps. If you don't have a textbook, you can look at the gaps here. I have included the whole text. When you come back, we'll check your answers. All right, let's check your answers now. Number 1, companies can benefit from using information and relationships. Next, they will develop new products and services. My definition of innovation, and she thinks that you should see something different. Next, increase, extending, and time. Okay, hopefully you've been able to listen to all of these words. I know it can be difficult with a different accent. If you are not able to understand what she is saying, I'd like to point out that at the back of the textbook, you can find all of the scripts for each audio file. However, I recommend that you listen to each audio file by itself first. Try to listen to it, and if you really can't understand or when you really want to study for the exam, then look at the script. Practice your ear. Let's talk about your participation forum this week. There will be 2 participation forum tasks. Our first participation forum is group work. You can see a forum on YSEC like this. Each group is given a letter, and your names are written underneath that group name. These are random teams. Hopefully, you have a different partner than you did last week. If you have the same, don't worry, you'll have another chance to work with someone new next time. I would like all of the students to please go to YSEC right away and get involved with your forum. Don't let your partner down. The reason we have these forums is for you to have a discussion. Also, please keep your discussion on the forum. I need to be able to see that you are having a conversation. If you begin discussing on Kakao Talk or through email, then I cannot see any of your discussion and I cannot give you points for participation. Okay, one more thing, if you look in the sample posts, you will see an example of the work that I want you to do. Now let me explain the participation forum. In your textbook, we're going to have a little bit of reading, and our group work is related to this reading. There are three main parts to this reading forum assignment. Number one, reading comprehension questions. Number two, reading discussion with your team members. And finally, number three, ask your partner, which is a sort of conversation discussion. Let's look at number one, reading comprehension questions. If you go to the forum, you can see these sample posts. So there are two articles, Ask Your Partner and Safer Cycling. Safer Cycling and Who Needs Translators. You will have one post for each article, and each post will answer the comprehension questions. Next, you are going to have some discussion questions. Go to a separate post to have your reading discussion. Make a separate post. And then finally, make a different post to ask your partner our conversation question. Okay, now let's look at the reading. On page 39, you will find some articles. Unfortunately, these are the things that I cannot put on YSEC for you, so please ask your partner to send you a scan or a photo. Okay, so with a partner, read the comprehension questions and answer them in relation to your article. One student should read Article 1, and the other student should read Article 2. And there are 4 comprehension questions. So please take a look at the questions, read the articles, and post your answers on the YSEC board. Then, for your discussion, please answer these questions together. Which of these ideas do you find most interesting, and why? Which idea do you think will be the most profitable or make the most money? Which idea will reach the most markets? And can you think of any problems any of the ideas might have? Finally, you're going to ask your partner a conversation discussion question, which is, what is the best vacation you have been on and why? Please answer this question using full sentences like, I went to Italy. It was awesome because I ate pasta, I saw the Sistine Chapel, I visited Rome, I tried gelato, I rode on a horse, and I watched an opera. Okay, so please answer all of your questions using these types of sentences. The reason why we're having this discussion is because we are going to transition into our grammar point today, which is on page 40, the past simple and past continuous tense. What is the past simple and past continuous? Let's first look at their construction. A positive form sentence in past simple, for example, is this. I worked. It's something that happened in the past and it's finished. I worked yesterday. If we change this to the past continuous, we're going to use a be verb in past tense and ing. I was working. Let's look at another one. You worked, you were working. He worked, she worked, he, she was working, etc. If you want to look at this form, please pause the video and look at it in your own time. Next, let's look at negative forms. If you did not do something in the past. With past simple, we say didn't. I didn't work. Notice here, we don't put ed, right? They worked. I didn't work. Past continuous. I wasn't, our be verb becomes negative. I wasn't working. You didn't work. You weren't working. He didn't work. He wasn't working, etc. Finally, our last form is the interrogative or question form. When we make a question, we always invert the subject and the verb. Did I work? So notice in the question and negative form, we use did in the past simple. Did I work? And here, work has not changed. We don't put ed here. Did I work? Was I working? Did you work? Were you working? Etc. So, why do we use the past simple? The past simple is used to talk about actions or events that were completed in the past. So imagine a timeline, and we have these dots, 1, 2, 3, 4. They are separate and finished events. We can add ed to the verb to make it into past simple. For example, start, started, work, worked. Notice how they have a different pronunciation? That's something you'll need to memorize over time. Sometimes it sounds like ed, sometimes it sounds like d, and sometimes it sounds like t. Worked, right? Started. It just comes with practice. Let's look at an example sentence. The advertising company start in 2002. Start, started. She worked in Japan last year. Work, worked. If the word already ends in E, we can simply add D. Close, we have E, and then we add D. Closed, like, liked. They closed the business last month. Close, closed. The manager liked the last design. Finally, we have irregular verbs that have completely different spelling when we put it in the past simple. For example, apply, applied. The Y will change to an I. Stop, stopped. We're going to add a consonant, double consonant. P becomes PP. They applied for a new job last week. The company stopped producing cars in 1990. Finally, we have irregular verbs. These ones are transforming completely when we put them in the past tense, and we need to just memorize them. For example, leave, left, find, found, make, made, eat, ate, give, gave, come, came, go, went, know, knew, take, took, read, read with the same spelling, write, wrote, and meet, met. These are some of the most common irregular past tense verbs, so please try to memorize them. She wrote a new research project last night. Nick came up with the Just Do It slogan in 1988. Sorry, not Nick, Nike. Nike. Now let's talk about past continuous. We use past continuous to talk about actions in progress in the past. In other words, it was a very long action. Hello? A long action. It took a long time to finish. So, for example, she was living in New York in 2003. She didn't just live there for 1 second or 1 day. She lived there for a long time. So we should use the past continuous. She was living in New York. Next, in 2007, she was working for Apple for a long time. We can also use the past continuous to talk about two actions that were in progress at the same time. Or two parallel actions is how we can call this. So imagine two lines moving at the same time. He was studying while his friends were watching TV. I was listening to music while he was cooking dinner. And sometimes we can combine the past simple and the past continuous in one sentence. Imagine our timeline is like this. We have a long action and several short actions are happening at the same time. So let's take a look at an example. I was taking a shower when you called. Called is a short action. It was finished quickly, but taking a shower took a long time. It wasn't complete. Let's look at another example. We were having a successful negotiation when suddenly he made new demands. We have a past continuous sentence and a past simple. Practice our grammar point in your textbook. On page 40, we're going to do exercise A. If you don't have your textbook, you can look at the exercise here on the PowerPoint slide. There is a very short text, and you must circle the correct verb tense, past simple or past continuous. When you finish, we will check your answers. Let's check your answers. Number 1, were writing. Number 2, invented. Number 3, was working. Number 4, noticed. Number 5, developed. And number 6, died. Okay, now let's move on to the final part of our lecture, which is our office culture moment. Maybe you found yourself in this situation. You're trying to write a business email, but you don't know what to do. Everything you try to write comes out sounding really dumb. Hello person, it's me, sincerely, me. You can't remember how to speak English anymore. So, what can we do to prevent writer's block when you're writing a business email? Let's look at our participation forum number 2. For our second participation forum, you're going to 1, learn how to write a business email, and then 2, write an email on the participation forum. This is just a practice email. Please don't actually email it to me. Just keep it on the forum. That way it's easy for me to organize all of your work by class. I teach many different classes with over 100 students, so when you send everything to my inbox, all of my students and classes get mixed together, and it can be hard to organize your work. And if you want your participation score to be kept accurately, please keep it on the forum. That way I know exactly who posted it, when they posted it, and what class they are part of. Okay, so post it directly to the forum. You can type it directly or you can upload it as a Word document. Now let's learn about writing a business email. First, we're going to talk about the subject line. Let's look first at an example of a really bad email. This is an email that I got from a real student. So, what do you think is the problem with this email? First, our subject line, no subject. This is an automatic subject that is given by the email server. When I see an email with this subject line, I have no idea what it's about. It doesn't give me any information at all. Next, who is this? This email doesn't provide any personal information, which is fine, but you should at least put your name in your contact information, or photo, or something. I have no idea who this is or what they want to talk about. Next, they used improper format. We're going to talk about how to format your emails very soon. Next, I need more information. What's my unique registration code? Okay, but tell me more. Give me detail. What class are you in? What is your student number? What is your name? When did you try to register? Give me context. Next, their voice is a little casual. In a business email, you want to speak in a polite and professional way. This kind of message, hello, what's my code? It's a little bit rude, and you definitely wouldn't want to write an email like this to your boss. And finally, we have here, an unprofessional signature, sent from my iPhone, sent from my Samsung Galaxy, blah, blah, blah. It is easy to change the automatic setting in your phone so that you don't include this in an email. Okay, so we have a pretty horrible format here. How can we improve it? Number one, our email subject. Your email subject should always be short, direct, and detailed, like a bullseye. Tell me exactly what you want very quickly. Why? Because one, it's quickly understood, two, it's easily searched, and three, it can be easily sorted or organized. There are so many emails that you will receive in your inbox, hundreds of emails. Think of your email inbox as your filing cabinet. You need to organize all of your information. Sometimes you need to look at a previous email to find a file or to find a conversation. How can you find information if all of your folders are labeled like this? Hello, hi, no subject. It's impossible. This is not the way to organize your information. So, in your subject, always put concrete details. Make it easy for the person you are sending an email to, for them to understand and organize their inbox. Now let's look at some real emails in my inbox. Which ones do you think have clear subjects? COVID-19, how we're responding. To Son Andrea teacher. I have a question about Gyoyangyong blah blah blah. User login details, which textbook we use, and hello, I am a student. Our first one is a very good subject. We know the topic, COVID-19, and we know a little more detail about it, how we're responding, their response. Next, to Andrea teacher. This needs a little bit more detail or information. I can guess that this is a student based on the subject, but I don't know what they want to talk about. Next, I have a question. This one is getting there. It's pretty good, but we need to make the subject a little shorter. As you can see, it's too long and it gets cut off, so I can't read the whole topic. Next, user login details. Very clear, very short. Which textbook we use? Very good. Clear, short, direct. I know exactly what the topic will be. And finally, hello, I am a student, Yonsei University. This needs to be shorter, it needs more detail, and it just needs to be more clear. Okay, let's move on to the next part of our email, which is salutations. How do we open our message? This is very standard, and we should follow this format very carefully. Always include a greeting. Capitalize every word, use a comma, and separate the greeting from the message. For example, good afternoon, Mr. Sharp. Notice how there is a space between the greeting and the message. This makes it very clear and well constructed. The greeting or salutation doesn't need to be long. Here are some examples of salutations that you can use. Good morning, afternoon, or evening. Dear, and then their title, Mr., Mrs., Miss, or Doctor, and their name. Dear, job title. Let's say you don't really know their name, but you want to message someone in accounts payable. You can say, Dear Accounts Payable, or Dear Sales Management. You can also say, hello, their name. Depending on how closely you know the person, you should probably use their family name. Hello, Mr. Smith. If you are familiar with them, then you can say their name. Hello, David. And finally, to whom it may concern. This is the most formal salutation you can use, and you use it when you don't know who will read the email. Let's say you send the email to a uh, general inbox. Now, let's say you want a less formal message. You don't want to email your boss, you want to email your team members. Then something simple like hello, hi, or their name is acceptable. Hey being really casual. Next, let's talk about the message, the content of your email. Your email content, like your email subject, should be short, direct, and detailed. When I say detailed, I mean give specific dates, give names, attach the files, make everything very clear. You also want to provide context so that the reader understands why you're talking about what you're talking about. Is it related to a conversation that you had before? Is it a continuation from a meeting that you just exited from? Give some context to your message. Also, separate your ideas into clear paragraphs. When all of your writing is jammed into one messy paragraph, it can be difficult to sort which part of the information is important. Things that we should never do. Don't write in all caps. It feels a little aggressive and it's not professional. Number 2, don't use informal language like lol, oh my god, or WTF. We are not sending a text message. We are sending a professional email. Number 3, don't use multiple question marks or exclamation points. This is also very unprofessional and can be perceived as rude. And finally, don't use emoticons unless you are having an informal conversation with someone that you know, or you want to show that you're being a little extra friendly. I typically like to use emoticons on the rare occasion with my students because I want to have a familiar relationship with you. But if I were emailing, let's say, the dean of the university, I would never use an emoticon. Oh, okay. When you write the message of your email, there are some common email sentences that you can use. If you look on Google, you will find hundreds of PDF files and websites that can teach you these sentences. For our class, I'm just going to teach you a few really basic ones that you can use over and over again. If you want to take the time to read them, you can go to YPsych and find a PDF file that I made for you, or you can pause the video. When we conclude our email, there are some common closing sentences that we should use, and we should always use a message conclusion. For example, I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you for your help. Let me know if this works for you. In other words, let me know if what I suggested was a good idea. Number 4, your feedback is greatly appreciated. And number 5, feel free to contact me about any questions you have about the project, about the meeting, etc. After we conclude our message, we should always add a closing. This is the same as a salutation, but just at the end to say goodbye. There are some pretty standard closing sentences that we can use. Like in our salutation, we should always include a signature or closing. We should capitalize every word, use a comma, and separate it from the message. So going back to our example here, best regards, Alan Lipton, sales manager. We can see that it is separated, capitalized with a comma. Now let's look at some standard closing sentences. In a really professional or formal email, we would say best regards, kind regards, or simply regards, sincerely or respectfully. If you want to be more casual, then you can say take care, cheers, or thank you. However, since you'll probably make an automatic email, I suggest that you choose a formal closing, and that way you are always on your best behavior. Then if you want to make it a casual sign off, you can do that manually when you're ready. Now let's talk about your signature. Every email should include your contact information at the bottom, because sometimes you will email a client or a customer and they'll want to contact you, or maybe they want to forward your information to one of their business partners. So take a look at this sample signature. In the signature, we must include your name, and then on the next line, job title. Next line, your department or your company name. In this example, they simply put the company name, but if, for example, you are the head of a department, you would put that department there. Then we have our work address and contact information, which includes the website and your email address. Okay, and that concludes our business email tutorial. Now for our business email assignment or task. I want you to write a practice business email. And for this business email, I want you to respond to Mrs. Boyens in response to this job ad. I want you to explain why you're contacting her. Ask her at least one question about the job ad. And finally, let her know that you have attached your resume, but you don't really need to attach it. Just let her know that you will. That's it. Just write a short email message. It doesn't have to be very long. I just want you to include all of this crucial information. In fact, shorter is best. It's clear, it's direct, and there is less chance of making a grammatical mistake. So go ahead and write this when you are ready. You can find a PDF version of all of the business email language on YSEC. So, in summary, in today's lesson, we talked about great inventions in history. We talked about business innovations, creating good business ideas, and their evolution through time. For our grammar point, we talked about past simple and past continuous verbs. And in our office culture moment, we talked about writing a professional business email. Your participation forums consist of two parts. Remember, number one is our reading group work. There are three parts to this. 1, comprehension questions, 2, reading discussion, and 3, ask your partner, which will practice some of your grammar point. And our second participation forum is solo work, writing a business email. Post it to YSEC, don't send it to my Yahoo. Okay, that's it for this week. Thank you so much, and don't forget, we need to finish before the end of our scheduled class time. Thank you, everyone. I hope you enjoyed it, and good luck. See you next week.